You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your educational journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Value measurement is the discipline of understanding whether the increments a team delivers truly achieve the intended outcomes. The orientation begins with the recognition that shipping code or releasing features does not automatically create value. What matters is whether those changes result in improved behaviors, reduced risks, or measurable business benefits. Teams therefore need to choose, collect, and interpret signals that reveal whether their increments worked as intended. Without value measurement, delivery risks devolving into busy work, where success is judged by the volume of features rather than their impact. By contrast, evidence-driven teams continuously evaluate whether what they released made a difference. This approach reduces waste, strengthens alignment with strategy, and builds trust with stakeholders, who can see not just activity, but verified results. Value measurement closes the loop between intent and reality, ensuring that every increment contributes to meaningful progress. The distinction between outcomes and outputs lies at the heart of value measurement. Outputs are tangible deliverables, such as features, code modules, or reports. They are easy to count but do not necessarily correlate with improvement. Outcomes, by contrast, are the changes in user behavior, system reliability, or organizational risk posture that result from those outputs. For example, releasing a new search feature is an output. Reducing the time it takes for customers to find products is an outcome. Similarly, implementing a compliance tool is an output. Passing an audit without critical findings is an outcome. Measuring outputs alone risks creating vanity metrics, where success is defined by activity levels rather than results. Outcomes are harder to capture, but far more meaningful. By focusing on outcomes, teams ensure that increments are judged by whether they advance the mission, not just by whether something new was delivered. Metric selection is a critical step, and discipline is essential to avoid overwhelming teams with irrelevant or conflicting measures. The principle is to favor a small set of relevant, comprehensible metrics tied directly to increment goals. A focused dashboard of 3 to 5 meaningful signals is usually more powerful than sprawling collections of numbers that dilute attention. For example, if the increment goal is to reduce customer support load, the key metrics might include ticket volume, resolution time, and first contact resolution rate. By contrast, adding dozens of peripheral statistics would only confuse stakeholders. Selected metrics should be understandable not only to analysts but also to sponsors and users. They should tell a coherent story about whether the intended change is happening. By resisting metric sprawl, teams preserve clarity, reduce the risk of conflicting incentives, and keep focus sharp. The right measures serve as a compass, not a scoreboard. Balancing leading and lagging indicators is another cornerstone of value measurement. Leading indicators are early signals that suggest whether the outcome is on track. They may include adoption rates, click-throughs, or preliminary system performance. Lagging indicators are longer-term results that confirm durable impact, such as revenue growth, customer retention, or reduced incident rates. For instance, early adoption of a self-service portal is a leading indicator, while decreased call center costs months later is a lagging indicator. Both matter. Leading indicators guide near-term adjustments, while lagging indicators validate whether the benefits endured. Focusing only on leading signals risks premature conclusions. Focusing only on lagging ones delays learning until it is costly to change. By balancing both, teams gain a fuller picture of progress and avoid misleading themselves. This balance ensures that measurement serves both adaptation in the moment and validation of long-term strategy. Baselines and targets give context to metrics, ensuring that improvement is measured against reality rather than wishful thinking. A baseline establishes where things stand before the increment, while a target defines the desired change or acceptable range. For example, if checkout abandonment currently sits at 25%, the target might be to reduce it to 20% within the increment. Without baselines, teams cannot tell whether a result reflects real improvement or just normal fluctuation. Without targets, they cannot know what level of change is meaningful. Baselines root measures in evidence, while targets provide ambition and focus. Together, they make outcomes testable. Teams that skip this step risk producing metrics that show activity but no progress. By setting baselines and targets, organizations create a fair and rigorous framework for evaluating value, ensuring that claims of improvement are grounded in observable reality. Attribution thinking prevents teams from overclaiming impact when outcomes improve. External factors often influence results, and without careful attribution, teams may credit increments for changes they did not cause. For example, a rise in sales after a feature launch may partly reflect seasonal demand or marketing campaigns. Attribution requires considering counterfactuals, what would have happened without the increment, and acknowledging external contributions. Techniques such as control groups, staggered rollouts, or regression analysis can strengthen attribution. Honest attribution protects credibility, as stakeholders learn to trust claims backed by rigorous reasoning. Overclaiming, by contrast, breeds skepticism and undermines confidence in measurement. By practicing attribution thinking, teams remain humble, acknowledging the complexity of cause and effect. This discipline strengthens alignment by ensuring that increments are credited accurately and that decisions are based on genuine impact rather than coincidental correlations. Segmentation and cohort analysis deepen understanding by revealing where value concentrates or lags. Outcomes rarely affect all users equally. Some groups may benefit significantly, while others see little change. For instance, a new mobile feature may boost satisfaction among younger users, but fail to engage older cohorts. By segmenting results across demographics, channels, or environments, teams uncover these differences and adapt accordingly. Cohort analysis tracks groups over time, revealing how outcomes persist or evolve. For example, early adopters may show high engagement initially, but if later cohorts struggle, the system may require adjustments. Segmentation prevents averages from masking important variations. It also enables targeted improvements, ensuring that value is distributed fairly and strategically. By using these analyses, organizations avoid one-size-fits-all assumptions and make measurement a nuanced tool for continuous learning. Data quality and governance underpin the credibility of value measurement. Metrics are only as reliable as the data that supports them. Poor definitions, incomplete capture, or inconsistent pipelines can produce misleading results. For example, if active users is defined differently in separate reports, stakeholders lose trust in the evidence. Governance establishes consistent definitions, ensures completeness, and maintains standards for collection and storage. Quality also requires monitoring pipelines for integrity so that errors are detected before they distort conclusions. Trustworthy data is the foundation for trustworthy measurement. Without it, even the most elegant metrics collapse into noise. By investing in governance, organizations make value measurement defensible and sustainable. This discipline turns metrics into evidence that stakeholders can rely on to make strategic choices, reinforcing the role of measurement as a driver of alignment rather than confusion. Ethical measurement ensures that data practices align with privacy, fairness, and trust. Collecting outcomes must not come at the expense of user rights or dignity. For example, tracking adoption rates should not involve invasive monitoring or excessive data retention. Teams must adhere to privacy laws, minimize data collection, and anonymize sensitive information where possible. Fairness also matters, as biased measurement can mask inequities or misrepresent vulnerable groups. Ethical measurement acknowledges that how data is gathered is as important as what it shows. By embedding privacy and ethics into measurement, organizations maintain credibility with users and regulators. It demonstrates respect for those whose behaviors generate the evidence. Ethical discipline ensures that value measurement strengthens trust rather than undermines it, making outcomes sustainable and defensible in both legal and moral terms. Risk-adjusted value broadens the definition of benefits to include reduced incidents, improved reliability, or compliance attainment. Too often, organizations focus narrowly on financial gains, overlooking outcomes that reduce exposure or improve resilience. For example, eliminating a critical vulnerability may not increase revenue directly, but reduces the risk of catastrophic breaches. Similarly, passing a compliance audit without findings is a measurable benefit, even if it does not show up in sales numbers. Risk-adjusted value acknowledges that stability, safety, and trust are legitimate outcomes worth measuring. By including these dimensions, organizations capture a fuller picture of value and avoid undervaluing critical work. This perspective ensures that increments addressing security, compliance, or reliability are recognized as central to strategy, not as invisible or secondary. Measuring risk-adjusted value reinforces alignment between delivery and organizational obligations. Non-financial outcomes also deserve a place in value measurement when they materially affect mission or risk. Customer satisfaction, task success, and accessibility improvements may not directly increase revenue but can transform long-term success. For example, making a service more accessible expands its reach and reduces legal exposure, even if short-term financial returns are modest. Similarly, increasing user satisfaction enhances loyalty and reputation, strengthening resilience in competitive markets. Measuring non-financial outcomes signals that the organization values more than immediate profit. It values trust, inclusivity, and sustainability. These dimensions often drive long-term differentiation and risk reduction. By including them, teams ensure that increments advance the full spectrum of strategic priorities. Non-financial measures prevent short-termism and align delivery with the organization's mission, reputation, and obligations, as well as its financial performance. Time horizons are an important consideration in measurement because outcomes unfold on different schedules. Some effects are visible immediately, such as reduced error rates after a usability fix. Others may take months or even years, like improved retention or cultural adoption. Measurement must match evaluation windows to these natural dynamics. Setting expectations too soon risks declaring failure prematurely, while waiting too long delays learning. For example, a new customer portal may require a quarter to show stable engagement patterns, while a bug fix can be validated within days. By aligning time horizons with outcome latency, organizations create fairness and accuracy in assessment. This practice also informs decision timing, guiding when to pivot and when to persevere. Respecting natural horizons ensures that measurement supports learning without distorting conclusions through impatience or neglect. Anti-gaming guardrails protect measurement from manipulation. Goodhart's law warns that when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. If teams are rewarded solely for increasing ticket closure rates, they may rush through cases without solving problems. Guardrails involve designing incentives carefully, combining multiple measures, and monitoring for signs of metric manipulation. For example, pairing closure rates with customer satisfaction prevents superficial wins. Guardrails also include cultural reinforcement that metrics are tools for learning, not weapons for blame. By acknowledging gaming risks openly, organizations reduce the temptation to exploit measures. Anti-gaming design ensures that metrics remain honest reflections of reality rather than distorted statistics. This protection maintains the integrity of alignment, ensuring that measurement drives genuine improvement instead of unhealthy behavior. Ownership and stewardship of metrics are crucial for accountability. Each measure needs a responsible steward who defines it, maintains the pipeline, and ensures its interpretation is accurate. Without ownership, metrics drift, definitions shift, and trust erodes. For example, if churn rate is measured differently across teams, comparisons lose meaning. Stewardship also involves regular reviews, where metrics are examined for relevance and accuracy. Assigning ownership clarifies accountability, ensuring that someone is answerable for the quality and interpretation of data. It also fosters continuity, so that metrics do not become orphans when roles change. By embedding ownership into measurement, organizations preserve consistency and reliability. Stewardship turns metrics into living assets that guide alignment rather than fragile numbers prone to decay. Anti-patterns in value measurement warn against practices that undermine credibility. Vanity metrics, such as total downloads without usage context, may look impressive but reveal little about actual outcomes. Shifting definitions between cycles erodes trust, as stakeholders cannot track progress reliably. Presenting averages without distribution hides tail pain, masking the struggles of outliers who may be critical users. These anti-patterns distort reality, encouraging optimism at the expense of truth. By naming them, teams remain vigilant against self-deception. Avoiding anti-patterns requires discipline, humility, and transparency. Strong measurement practices resist the lure of easy numbers and commit to honest evidence, even when results are uncomfortable. This discipline ensures that value measurement serves its purpose, guiding decisions with integrity rather than decorating presentations with flattering but empty statistics. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Instrumentation plans ensure that value measurement is ready the moment an increment ships. Too often, teams release functionality and only afterward realize they lack the data to prove its impact. An instrumentation plan prevents this by defining events, contexts, and identifiers in the backlog alongside functional work. For example, when building a new onboarding flow, the plan might specify tracking abandonments at each step, successful completions, and time spent per screen. These requirements are treated as first-class backlog items, ensuring they are implemented with the increment. Instrumentation readiness turns every release into a learning opportunity rather than a black box. It also reduces rework, as teams do not need to retrofit measurement after the fact. By embedding measurement hooks from the start, organizations align intent, delivery, and evidence seamlessly, ensuring that value is observable in real time. Event taxonomy and naming conventions provide consistency in how signals are captured and interpreted across teams and over time. Without standardized naming, events accumulate in chaotic, duplicative forms that confuse analysts and undermine trust. A taxonomy defines categories such as user actions, system events, or error conditions, while naming conventions ensure discoverability and clarity. For example, checkout terror payment decline is far clearer and more reusable than vague labels like issue event. Consistency allows teams to build shared dashboards and compare results across increments. It also accelerates learning, as new members can quickly understand what data exists and how to use it. A disciplined taxonomy makes measurement scalable, avoiding the entropy that comes from ad hoc practices. It ensures that metrics remain coherent and actionable, turning streams of raw data into reliable evidence of value. Acceptance criteria that include measurement hooks create traceability from intent to evidence. Instead of treating measurement as a separate activity, teams integrate it into the definition of done. For instance, a user story to implement self-service password reset may have acceptance criteria such as capture number of reset attempts and track resolution without agent intervention. This integration ensures that success signals are captured automatically as the functionality is delivered. It also prevents measurement from being forgotten or deprioritized. By linking acceptance directly to evidence, teams guarantee that increments not only ship but also prove their impact. This practice strengthens accountability, as every slice comes with a built-in test of value. It transforms increments into experiments that generate data as naturally as they generate functionality, reinforcing a culture of evidence-driven delivery. Data pipelines and retention policies determine how measurement signals flow and persist. Raw data must move reliably from capture points to analysis tools, while retention policies govern how long history is preserved. Proportionate design matters. Over-engineering pipelines for trivial features wastes effort, while under-investing for critical outcomes risks losing vital history. For example, Tracking login errors may require only short-term storage for trend analysis, while compliance evidence may need multi-year retention. Balancing efficiency with necessity ensures sustainability. Policies also reinforce privacy obligations, deleting data when no longer required. By designing pipelines and retention as part of value measurement, organizations ensure that evidence remains available, trustworthy, and ethically managed. This infrastructure makes outcomes traceable over time, protecting both agility and governance. Review cadence embeds value measurement into decision-making rather than leaving it as background noise. Teams schedule regular interpretation sessions where metrics are examined in light of goals. For instance, a bi-weekly review might ask whether adoption rates are trending toward targets, whether risks are reducing, or whether adjustments are needed. By making measurement routine, organizations prevent drift, where metrics are collected but ignored. Cadence also provides stakeholders with predictable visibility, reinforcing trust. Reviews are not just about celebrating wins, but about testing hypotheses, challenging assumptions, and shaping the backlog. A disciplined cadence transforms measurement into a living dialogue between evidence and action. It ensures that value signals are not forgotten but are continuously shaping decisions about scope, priority, and future experiments. Distribution-aware analysis goes beyond averages to reflect the real experiences of users. Averages often hide critical insights. An average response time of 2 seconds may sound good, but if a portion of users experience 10-second delays, their pain is invisible. Distribution-aware analysis examines percentiles, ranges, and confidence intervals. For example, reporting that 95% of requests complete under 3 seconds paints a clearer picture than quoting the mean. This approach also highlights tail problems that disproportionately affect critical users, such as power customers or regulated clients. By analyzing distributions, organizations see where value is unevenly delivered and can prioritize accordingly. This rigor prevents false comfort from misleading metrics and ensures that alignment decisions respond to actual experience. Distribution-aware analysis makes measurement more honest, more actionable, and more aligned with user reality. Summaries and narratives make metrics meaningful by pairing numbers with plain language explanations of context, uncertainty, and implications. Raw data can overwhelm or mislead stakeholders, while carefully crafted narratives connect evidence to decisions. For example, instead of stating, quote, "drop-off decreased by 5%, a narrative might explain, "This decline suggests improved usability, though external marketing may also have influenced results." We propose further analysis before scaling the feature. Summaries acknowledge uncertainty and outline next steps, preventing overconfidence. They also democratize measurement, making evidence accessible to non-technical stakeholders. By weaving numbers into narratives, teams transform measurement into a decision support tool rather than a data dump. This practice strengthens alignment by ensuring that evidence is not only available but also interpreted responsibly and communicated clearly. Experimental and quasi-experimental methods strengthen causal confidence when stakes are high. Techniques such as controlled comparisons, interrupted time series, or matched cohorts provide structure for testing whether observed changes truly result from increments. For instance, a bank testing a fraud detection algorithm might run it in parallel with the old system for a period, comparing outcomes. Quasi-experimental designs, while less rigorous, still provide counterfactual insights, such as comparing regions that received a feature earlier with those that did not. These methods prevent premature conclusions based on coincidence. They require investment in design and analysis but provide stronger foundations for critical decisions. By adopting experimental rigor when needed, organizations ensure that claims of value are defensible and that strategy rests on evidence rather than assumption. Triangulation integrates qualitative and quantitative feedback to validate conclusions and reveal blind spots. Quantitative signals may show adoption rates rising, but qualitative feedback might reveal user frustration with specific aspects. By combining both, teams avoid over-reliance on a single lens. For example, customer interviews may explain why a metric moved, revealing motivations or obstacles invisible in numbers. Triangulation also mitigates bias, as different sources of evidence can confirm or challenge each other. This blended approach strengthens confidence in decisions and ensures that outcomes are understood holistically. Triangulation reflects the complexity of real systems, where numbers and narratives both matter. It keeps value measurement grounded, comprehensive, and less vulnerable to misinterpretation or manipulation. Communication norms govern how results are shared with stakeholders, ensuring that evidence informs decisions without creating overconfidence. Norms include presenting results with caveats, explaining uncertainty, and framing next steps responsibly. For example, rather than declaring the feature increased sales, a team might say, early signals suggest a positive impact, though seasonality may also be a factor. Further monitoring is required. These norms prevent misinterpretation and maintain trust. They also protect against the misuse of metrics as weapons for blame or as proof of exaggerated success. By establishing respectful, honest communication norms, organizations ensure that measurement strengthens alignment rather than distorting it. Clear, humble communication makes evidence a shared guide rather than a political tool. Incentive alignment ensures that measurement drives constructive behavior rather than gaming. If metrics are tied too tightly to recognition or rewards, individuals may optimize for the statistic rather than the system. For example, if support teams are rewarded only for quick resolution times, they may close tickets prematurely. Aligning incentives means selecting measures carefully, combining complementary signals, and reinforcing cultural values that emphasize genuine improvement. Recognition should highlight behaviors that enhance overall outcomes, not just metric performance. By designing incentives thoughtfully, organizations harness measurement to motivate without distorting. This balance ensures that value measurement remains a tool for alignment and improvement rather than a source of manipulation or perverse incentives. Measure evolution acknowledges that metrics themselves must change as strategy, products, and risks evolve. A measure that was once relevant may lose meaning, while new priorities demand new signals. For example, as a product matures, early adoption metrics may matter less than long-term retention. Retiring low-signal metrics prevents clutter and distraction, while introducing new ones ensures relevance. Evolution is not a sign of instability, but of responsiveness. By periodically refreshing measures, organizations keep value measurement aligned with strategy. This flexibility prevents metrics from becoming stale relics that distort focus. Evolving measurement practices ensure that alignment remains alive, adjusting as the environment changes while still preserving comparability where it matters. Cross-team consistency supports alignment at scale. Without shared definitions and standards, teams may report conflicting claims about progress, confusing stakeholders. A metric dictionary that defines terms like active user, incident, or conversion provides a shared foundation. Consistency allows portfolio leaders to aggregate results meaningfully and compare across units. It also prevents wasteful debates over definitions. For example, if two teams define churn rate differently, leadership cannot make coherent decisions about retention. By maintaining comparability standards, organizations ensure that measurement remains a common language. This coherence strengthens trust and prevents fragmentation, turning value measurement into an enterprise capability rather than a local practice. Benefits realization loops revisit outcomes after release to confirm persistence, detect regression, and update plans. Immediate post-release signals may show improvement, but only follow-up checks reveal whether benefits endure. For example, a new learning platform may see an initial spike in usage, but only sustained tracking confirms long-term adoption. Benefits realization loops ensure that measurement is not a one-time exercise but a continuous process. They also reveal regressions, such as improvements that fade over time, prompting corrective action. By treating benefits as dynamic, organizations maintain alignment with real outcomes rather than assuming permanence. Benefits realization closes the loop between strategy and delivery, ensuring that increments are judged not only by immediate impact, but by their sustained contribution to goals. In conclusion, Value measurement is the discipline that ensures increments deliver real outcomes rather than hopeful assumptions. Part 2 has shown how instrumentation, taxonomies, and acceptance criteria integrate measurement into delivery. Pipelines, cadences, and distribution-aware analysis make data reliable and fair. Narratives, experiments, and triangulation enrich interpretation, while communication norms and incentive alignment preserve integrity. Measure evolution, cross-team consistency, and benefits realization keep value measurement relevant and credible over time. Together, these practices ensure that small, relevant, ethically collected signals guide decisions honestly. The synthesis is clear: value measurement is not about decoration but direction, using evidence, not hope, to shape what the team does next. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.